Hey, I'm Molly Sims.
And I'm Emese Gormley. We're two girls obsessed with one thing, beauty.
And by that, we mean everything that makes you look
And feel
beautiful.
We're calling on our favorite health experts, industry insiders, and friends to answer all your beauty questions.
With a drink in hand.
Definitely with a drink in hand.
You're listening to Lipstick on the Rim with Molly Sims.
Oh my gosh. Oh, what cool moms we're about to be.
I mean, I was literally at Sephora earlier today and brought my child yesterday.
So, one word, Sephora. That's what we're going to be talking about. It is the holy grail of beauty. Everyone swears by it, shops it religiously, obsesses over what's new. But here's what we're going to do. How did it happen? How does Sephora curate its shelves? How do they stay the creme de la creme of the beauty industry? How do they have virality that is made an entire generation of children now want to throw their birthday parties at Sephora? Scarlett and Maeve have literally better skincare in their bathroom than you and I do.
Yeah, that's true.
They really do.
And perfumes.
And to answer all these questions, to answer how do they curate the shelves, what are the cult favorite products, she's going to answer. The new viral beauty must-haves, and why are they the mothership of the beauty industry? Well, just so happens that I have a friend of mine that I now know because Wise Beauty, we are now 3 days into Sephora. Very excited. Woo, let's go. In honor of the shirt, Cindy Deily, who's been there from day one with me in the beginning. I got her. I talked her into it. I talked her company into letting her, spill some of the little bit of a secret. She's the vice president of merchandising for skincare. She's been at the company for almost 2 decades. That's a really long time, Cindy.
It's a long time.
2 decades. She has been instrumental in shaping not only Sephora's shelves, but the industry as a whole. Listen to this. From growing over 100 brand partnerships to building out entire categories in face oils and clean beauty, Cindy is a true beauty tastemaker and an industry leader. Today, she's here to share what's new, what's fucking next, what's worth it, what's worth the hype. We're diving into Sephora. Cindy, we're obsessed you're here.
Thanks for having me.
Oh my God. Before Sephora, you were in home, right?
Mm-hmm.
What did you do in home and fashion?
Well, right before Sephora, I was working at Cost Plus World Market.
I love World Market.
Love a World Market.
I do too. And I was the associate buyer at the time, I think it was for Bath and Basket. So I was going on these round the world buying trips, developing baskets and bath care products for Cost Plus.
And then how did that lead? What was your first entry into Sephora?
So when I was at Cost Plus, my assistant buyer, her older sister, worked for Sephora. And I knew enough about retail at that point that I knew I wanted to get into beauty because I had experience with homewares, I had experience with fashion. And the thing about those categories, at least in the context that I had experienced, was the product is always cycling through, right? So there is an element of merchandising and product development that takes place, but a lot of it is managing the inventory and managing markdown cycles. So what I liked about the idea of beauty is that most of the business is driven through core products, right? The stuff that's there.
What was your first big win at Sephora?
So the thing that I was known for a long time at Sephora was putting dry shampoos on the map. And I
saw that in your bio. And by the way, I thank you for that.
You're
because
welcome.
No one buys more dry shampoo than I do.
Well, and nobody hates washing their hair more than I do.
Because you guys have the same thickness of hair.
So that was probably the first thing. And it came about because I had the hair care category as well as skincare at the time, and hair was really tiny. And one of my brands came in, a stylist named Oscar Blondie, who, if Oscar is listening to this, I love Oscar. I miss him. He was so fun. We love you, Oscar.
We love you. We still love you.
So we were in a market meeting, and it was my first meeting with them. And he did a demo of his dry shampoo on me. And I sat there and my mind was blown. I was like, you mean to tell me that I don't have to wash my hair all the time. So I was just sold based on that. And so I pulled together a category strategy and, long story short,
how many
dry
years
shampoos
ago
became
was
this big thing. That was in 2006.
2006.
It was the Oscar Blondie one, the one that was like, it had like a little cone shaped like tip.
Yes, exactly. And it was this hourglass shaped white bottle with this needle nose tip. Yeah, it was a loose powder.
It was the best.
It was the best.
Back in 2006, what were some of your cult brands?
Oh my gosh, that's such a good question. Okay, I got to think back. What was really big for us at the time? Bare Minerals, I remember, was the biggest brand at Sephora. And it was so mind-blowingly huge in the sales that it did. In skincare, Dr. Perricone was our biggest brand.
Oh,
wow.
It
was the time of, it was sort of like the first generation of really, really big clinical brands.
And what at the time was Sephora looking for? It's 2006. Was clinical what we know of as it is today? Or was it just, did you have a lot of derm products?
We did actually. Yeah. And they did quite well for us. It was sort of pre the whole natural and then turned into the clean movement. So clinical skincare was kind of everything. And my colleague at the time, who became my boss for many, many years, Priya, was running it. And she was that was like the queen of the show, clinical skincare was everything. And, obviously skincare has evolved a lot. Clinical is still a really important part of it.
And what about makeup?
So like I said, Bare Minerals was really huge.
Too Faced.
Benefit, Too Faced. That was when all of those brands were getting really big. And Sephora.
I feel like too. The cheek stain. Remember the cheek?
Loved that cheek stain.
Yes.
Benefit. When did Benefit come out?
I think originally started in the 70s in San Francisco.
Benefit?
It has this really interesting story. The founders, these two twins, Jean and Jane, they started, I believe Benetint was actually their first product, if I recall correctly.
Which, by the way, I feel like, and it kind of is the next question for me, is Benetint's made a comeback. And I think it has gotten a lot of viral pickup through TikTok. How do you feel like the rise of social media, especially with TikTok, influencer culture, how does that impact the way you curate and source products? Because some stuff just comes back and all of a sudden it's just like Benetint. I see all the little girls putting their Benetint on again.
It's crazy. It is crazy how fast trends come and go now with social media and TikTok in particular. But the number of products that have sort of been pulled out of the archives in some cases, and suddenly it's the biggest thing in the world is just wild. So like Benetint with the jelly donut thing, right, with High Beam and Benetint. It's really been incredible to see because social media overall has had such a huge impact on beauty. But then with TikTok coming into the equation, I mean, the trends are just lightning fast.
And how does Sephora keep up? You're planning so far in advance. Has that had to shorten a little bit?
No, I wouldn't say it shortens. We want to see as far into the future as we possibly can, to know what's coming. And, that helps us spot some of the trends as well. But it has forced us and everyone in beauty to be very nimble and very reactive. Brands also have to be very reactive because these things happen. And if it's not already a top seller, it sells out instantly. And then they're chasing inventory. So it does put a lot of pressure on supply chains overall, but it's pretty fun when it happens.
Let's go back. We're in 2006. It's clinical. What was the next wave?
The next wave that was bubbling up at the time, we were all calling natural. There was a lot of interest in that. And it was this situation where at the time we would do these consumer surveys and polls. And they would all say, if we asked how important is it to you for a product to be natural, organic, they'd be like 10 out of 10, the most important thing in my life. But it was still a pretty small category. But we could see the interest and we started to see the change in food trends and just overall lifestyle trends. It was also around the time when The Honest Company was starting, and a man named Christopher Gavigan had written a book called Healthy Child, Healthy World. So I think at the time, the core demographic for Sephora then was young women who were getting married and having babies and all of that. And I think all of these things came together at the same time. And the overall awareness of what's in all these products that we're surrounding ourselves with all the time, that really started to skyrocket. So that was kind of the impetus for natural skincare. And then over time, it's evolved. And now the term that's used in the industry is clean.
And talk to us about that green stamp. Because when you see the green stamp, it means something.
It means something. So it's a pretty rigorous list of ingredients that are not in the product. And it's really meant to be a navigational aid for clients. It's not a value statement on these products are better than these products. It's just that there are a number of ingredients out there that some people want to avoid for a whole litany of reasons. And so that stamp is just meant to help them more easily find what they're looking for, because we carry thousands of products.
I mean, it is unbelievable. Okay, product categories.
Yeah.
Some didn't even exist in 2006.
Mm-hmm.
How have those product categories, fragrance? I mean, fragrance was always big, but look at it today, on the rise, hair care. How has that changed and been major revenue drivers?
It's really transformed. So in the beginning, we were very dominant in makeup. We still are very dominant in makeup. But what's been exciting is to see the other categories really rise and get more recognition and more sales revenue. So skincare has gotten huge for us. And then in the last couple of years, hair care and especially fragrance.
The girls love
exploded.
The boys too.
The boys too. I know, it's been amazing to see. And what's interesting is that in other markets for Sephora, because we're all over the world, in Europe, for example, fragrance has always been a huge category. So it's exciting to see that now happening in the US.
How has the definition of beauty changed within Sephora's walls, whether that's clean, inclusive, age diverse, or genderless?
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, kind of like you guys, what you say on your podcast, right? Everything that makes you look and feel beautiful. The product categories have definitely expanded, I would say, into areas of people's lives that start to touch lifestyle and wellness more. So we started to see supplements, beauty supplements come into the equation, and technology and devices, right? Like red light therapy and face masks and things like that.
Beauty's changed. I mean,
beauty's changed a lot.
It's changed a lot, and there's a lot of check marks, right? Mm-hmm. You want to be age inclusiveness. You want to be clean. You want to be transparent. You want to have some sort of sustainability for the planet. Like that didn't really exist in 2006.
No, not much at all. So one of the things that I'm personally very proud of is how much progress we've made in working together with the brand community on sustainability. Mm-hmm. We are very far from where we could and should be, but programs like Planet Aware at Sephora is, another stamp, a seal that's a very high bar that you have to clear as a brand to get that seal. And refills. Refills in prestige beauty really didn't exist 20 years ago. So the fact that we're seeing so many refills and so much momentum there and clients really loving that is really great.
Refill.
I love a refill.
All right, here we go. How does Sephora curate its shelves? People always wonder, how does that product get into Sephora? Can you kind of walk us through what that process looks like? Because a little birdie told me, not Cindy, I got the opportunity to go to their summit in San Francisco a few months ago. And I heard that you get pitched between 10 to 12 brands a week. Is that true?
Correct.
That is crazy.
I personally get on average 10 to 12 a week. And
Can you believe that?
One of several.
That's insane.
And these are all brands that are actually selling product. They're not concepts yet.
Most of them. Sometimes they're concepts. Most of them, exist in the world. Some of them are very established. Some of them launched yesterday. So really all
Like what are some of the
sizes.
qualities? Like why do you're like, okay, take me to the next step? I think I could see you here.
Well, the first piece is exceptional product, right? If the goop isn't there, it's not going to happen. And we can work around packaging, we can work around branding, all of these things, but the goop has to be great. And our teams test and try everything. So they're very good.
I mean, I've gotten to go to the Sephora offices a couple of times. It's like it's like heaven. It's like
it seems like my place.
You would
wild.
die.
Just thrive.
It's the mothership.
Do you ever? What was the most recent thing that came across your desk that you were like super excited about?
The most recent thing that came across my desk, I mean, I am so excited about Wise.
Oh.
I'm not just saying that because I'm here.
Ding ding.
And I'll tell you why, and I've told you this story too. I had seen it out there in the market and I thought, oh, that looks kind of cute. But part of me kind of dismissed it a little bit because I thought, oh, it's a celebrity brand. And you just never know. Those can be very hit or miss. And when I actually got a chance to try it and then meet you, I was really blown away. And I would say that if this wasn't your podcast too. I really think it's a great brand and great product. And that sort of leads me to the second point of what we look for. Aside from great product, we really look for a fit with the people. You know, we look for where is the founder coming from? What's their objective here? You can sense it right away what their motivation is. And the brands that have been the most successful at Sephora have tended to come from founders whose drive in life is to bring their consumer a great product, to really solve a problem in the world. And when we launch a brand, we're not looking for flash in the pan partnerships. We're really looking for brands that we can partner with for the long term. So the people fit is really, really important, and making sure we're aligned on values and how we want to do business and how we want to partner.
How long does it take initially when someone pitches to shelf?
It usually takes about a year.
About a year.
We can fast track it, but to do it really well and thoughtfully and think it through, a year is a good cushion of time.
I know this answer, but I'm going to ask it. Are there any brand stories? There's one or two or 10 that really stand out to you where someone started really small, but then took off?
One meeting I will never forget is when Lauren and Mariana from Summer Fridays came in to meet with us. And they had just their cute selves. They're so sweet. And they had a pitch deck and they had a lab sample of jet lag mask. And they tell this story a lot. And I didn't even realize until years later how much it meant to them. But that was the first and only time that I have said yes to a brand in the first meeting, because I could just feel from them what they were trying to do and how much heart they had. And it was sort of the first influencer brand that we had in skincare. There was a lot happening in the influencer space in makeup.
I was talking to Mariana the other day, or was it Lauren? One of them. I remember going to the first kind of little welcome to the world of the jet lag mask at the platform in Culver City. They took over just like a little bit of stays, had a little bit of bar, had some drink, and that was it. Like that was jet lag mask.
Yeah.
Come to life.
Yeah. And look at them now.
I know.
They're on top of the world.
I love that.
But they work really hard. They're very involved.
They're very involved. Those girls hustle. They work so hard, and they've been really, really collaborative with us, which is sort of a key.
Drunk Elephant. Tiffany.
Yes.
How in the world did that happen? Because I mean, it is an incredible story.
If I could tell you how it happened in the sense of being able to replicate it, I would be sitting on my own island right now. I think that, first of all, she is one of the most incredibly just naturally intuitive people in the sense that she had no experience in beauty prior to starting the brand. I think she was 42 at the time.
I didn't know that.
Mom of 4, living in Texas. And she had never started a company before. She had never worked in beauty before. She just operated based on her gut and what she knew that she wanted, right? And so that never ceases to blow me away, how successful you can be in this industry as someone who does not have any prior experience, but just really follows their gut. And I think looking back on it, a couple of things converged at the same time. I think skincare was ready for a shakeup, and she was coming with this combination of clinically active and effective formulas in really, really fun packaging and just speaking to the category in a way that was approachable. And that's where I think the fact that she wasn't an industry veteran really worked to her advantage, because she was explaining it to people from a place of having just kind of learned it herself. Right. So she was able to simplify it. She was solving a problem. She was simplifying it. And people really jumped onto that. And what was also happening at the time was social media was exploding. So people were able to engage with brands in this one-on-one way that they have never really done before. And so the idea of really getting immersed in a brand universe was happening at the same time. And they just have such a great brand. There's so much there that people grabbed onto.
But mom of 4, living in Texas, never had done it in the beauty industry. How in the world did you say yes?
Well, I was pretty clear from the beginning that the brand was just great, but I didn't know how big it was going to get. I had no idea. And she didn't either, right? She didn't start this thinking, I'm going to make this huge brand and then sell it to Shiseido and, ride off into the sunset. She was as surprised as all of us.
It became the viral, which is also what I want to ask you. For the past two almost 3 years, 4 years almost, right? 4+ years, Drunken has taken over skincare. You know what I mean? Both my age and then you with the youth, which everybody wants virality. From Sephora, is it good to get that virality, or is it better to slow and steady? Is it you get up there, you go, you sell, you make your moment, you take it?
There's a dark side to going viral.
What does that look like from a retailer?
Well, the thing is, if you have a brand, you have a company, ultimately you want to show growth year after year, right? So if you have a very extreme spike in business that is not directly driven by you and your retail partners' activities, with marketing and education and sampling and all the levers that we pull to launch and support products, but it's driven by something going viral on social media, you get this giant spike in business. And, like I've said, these days the trends come and go really quickly.
It's not sustainable.
So it's not sustainable. There's an other side to that huge spike in business, which is you get to the next year and it's very difficult to what we call comp that business, which means to show growth when you're up against such huge growth from the year before. So it's a little bit of a double-edged sword. If brands are in the right place in their life cycle and they play it right, they can
hold on,
leverage. Right. Yeah, they can leverage the brand awareness that they gain from that moment of virality and pull that into growth in the future. But there's a lot to be said for slow and steady growth.
Have you ever found something on TikTok, a brand?
I have definitely discovered a lot on TikTok. I don't know that I have ever launched anything that I found on TikTok. Right. Instagram, yes, for sure.
Instagram
for sure.
What's the difference between the two, out of curiosity?
Well, TikTok, I feel like the content you're engaging with is more user-generated content. I get a lot more of that. Maybe it's just my algorithm.
No, but UGC.
Right? Yeah. So you're hearing about the brand from people who are not the brand. And Instagram is much more the brand voice hitting you. And so I remember I discovered Youth to the People on Instagram.
Love Youth to the People.
And they were very young. I mean, they had 3 products at the time. They had just launched. I think it was within a couple months of them launching. And I had my team bring them in, and they kind of came in all like big-eyed and couldn't believe that they were sitting in our offices.
So what role does Sephora play in supporting these small brands? Like how hands-on do you become with the founders or with the team?
This is probably what surprises brands the most. And I think what consumers might be the most surprised to hear is how deeply we partner and how early on in some cases we partner. So sometimes a brand shows up in our stores and we've already been working on it for 2 years and it looks nothing like what it originally looked like. And it really goes back to when Sephora started in the US in 1998, nobody wanted to sell to us. It was really, really hard.
What do you mean no one wanted to sell?
Because prestige beauty pre-Sephora in the US was very, very driven and owned by department stores.
Right. Nordstrom's, Macy's,
Nordstrom's,
Dillard's.
Macy's, like all of those guys. So everything was behind a glass counter. You had a commissioned salesperson working with you. And so then Sephora shows up and we want to put everything out in the open.
You can test it. You can
test
feel
it.
it.
You can touch it. You can try. That was just a groundbreaking idea at the time. Of course, now we're all used to it, but it was a very different idea at the time. And so Sephora shows up and starts calling, all of these big brands, all the big household name brands, and just got one no after another. And because there was this mutual understanding. Yeah. We were seen as an oddball and a threat, and nobody wanted to sell to us. The big brands at least didn't want to sell to us. But then what was also happening is we had all these indie brands that couldn't get into department stores because they weren't big enough to be able to afford the counter model and all that. So from the very, very earliest days of Sephora, we had this relationship with indie brands and the indie brand community of we needed each other. They needed us to have a place to sell and we needed them to fill our shelves. And so that still permeates the culture of everything we do with the brands. We work together because we had to learn early on how to make sure that our brands were going to be successful. And so this idea of incubating, we talk about that a lot.
What's one major shift in consumer behavior you've noticed recently?
Clients are so educated now. I mean, the amount of information that just the average client in our stores now knows about what brands are on the market, what ingredients are and what they do, what they're looking for, it is completely different from when I started. I mean, at the time, the voices of authority and influence were basically magazine editors and retailers. And now there's millions of voices in the conversation.
Yeah. I mean, we used to ride or die our beauty editors, our fashion editors.
Yes.
I mean, she comes from, major fashion PR. But again, those editors were everything.
Everything.
Allure was my Bible. Like I would wait for a new issue of Allure to come out to see what the latest products were, because you really didn't know what was coming out until they were in print.
I mean, I'll say some of the biggest hits from brands have caught all of us by surprise. And I think that's sort of the beauty of all of this is that at the end of the day, my boss is the Sephora client. So we just try to do our best to get the brands in the right place and shape to present to the client. And then we always learn something from them. There's never been a situation where we didn't have some surprises in launching a brand in terms of what the clients really gravitate towards. Because at the end of the day, they're the boss, they're deciding what the top sellers are going to be. We can help it along with how we merchandise and what we launch and how we market it and all of those things that we do, but they decide.
Beauty retail experience is evolving post-pandemic.
Well, during the pandemic, for obvious reasons, the business really swung to online. And Sephora has always been really ahead of the curve in terms of e-commerce, and particularly app. So we were really well positioned to answer that need. And we've done a lot of work. Our teams have done a lot of work in the last couple of years to focus on convenience. So partnering with like Instacart and companies like that, having buy online, pick up in store, that just having same day delivery now. So we were right there when that was all happening. What's happened then since the pandemic is everybody wants to be shopping in stores again. They come into stores with their phones in hand with the app open. So it's this really interesting,
crazy
omni-channel shopping experience where they want the convenience and the information, the education, you know, the videos, the product images, all that, the reviews on our site and on our app, but then they want to be in store touching and feeling and experiencing the product live. The other thing that's happening that is so much fun are all of these brand events and these IRL experiences where you just get a chance to get immersed into the brand's universe. And a lot of that is happening right outside of our stores or sometimes in our stores. It's so fun.
It's so fun. I mean, look at what Patrick Starr is doing, Rhodes doing.
Amazing.
I mean, it is.
They're incredible. I know.
It's incredible. And the moms love it. The kids love it. Like, again, it's just that like experience.
Yep. The swag.
The
brand swag. This has become a whole thing now too.
I mean, we also discussed that a huge category seller for you guys has to be hand sanitizer. The Touchland, every car crevice, everything has a Touchland. I mean, I'm so thrilled my kids want to be like sanitized all the time, but it's a thing.
But she has all the colors lined up.
Oh yeah. The collector's mentality has been a really big thing.
What do you mean by that?
In beauty. So with whether it's Touchland or the Sol de Janeiro body sprays or the Summer Fridays lip butter balms or like whatever it is, anything that's available in a range of fun colors.
Look at Laneige. Laneige rainbow, purple, green, pineapple, you name it.
Yeah.
I like Laneige.
It started with millennial pink. They were saying like, this is the color of this generation. I read an article, which feels so true. If I just look at our business, that the color of the younger generations is all colors, every color.
Every color.
And you see it in beauty. It's so colorful and fun and sensorial and experiential.
We went back, everything was gray or everything was like white or cream. Like and now it is fun. Right. Yeah. And I think the swag is fun. And I think that's also why kids enjoy it. Starting with sunscreen. Just want to give out to my girls at Ultraviolet. I got introduced through Cindy and Kim Devin. Love them. It's a great brand.
Best. They are the best.
They just launched a few months ago. It's an Australian brand. 2 lovely ladies. And I'm so excited to watch them and to, it's a great brand.
It's such a great brand. I love them. I'm so excited that
Me too.
They're here. We've been waiting for them for a while. The product is phenomenal. And Australia is probably the hardest market in the world to get a sunscreen approved because they have I believe it's the highest rate of skin cancer in the world.
Australia.
They basically have no ozone layer down there. So the UV index is insanely high. And so they don't mess around. They take sunscreen very seriously. They educate kids. So starting like in grade school, kids have to wear hats at recess that protect the back of their neck. So, the fact that we have this here now is really, really exciting. The product is amazing. And they're
all
so
your
nice.
products. I love Merritt. I love Westman. I love Charlotte. I love Patrick Starr, Patrick Todd. Like there's so many amazing, fun, brands. And even within skincare, whether you're high or whether you're low, like I do think there is something for everyone, right?
That's
got Little Wise Beauty.
Little Wise Beauty.
Little next chapter.
Yeah, we want to make sure that there's something for everybody. I think one thing that is starting to shift is, the beauty industry, a lot of industries, but beauty especially, tends to be fairly focused on the youth, like younger consumers. And I don't mean teens, tweens. I mean, people in their 20s and 30s who drive a lot of the trends tend to be hyper engaged in the category more so than other generations. But what I see happening now is the lens widening a bit. And I feel like the industry is waking up to the fact that consumers, especially women over 40, like Gen X, have kind of been neglected.
They have
for a while.
That's why I started the brand.
Exactly.
I had a problem. Everything was super, super derm and clinical and harsh. And, at the time, your microdermabrasion, CO2 lasers, like all these incredibly harsh actives. And then that kind of weren't, in great packaging and cool. But then you had everything else that was super fun over here that, again, fun, but there was no efficacy for someone like me. So I do think there is that woman, I always call myself with a brand. I'm like, I wish I had that cheat sheet. I wish I had that because I spent so much time almost burning my skin off, trying to, once you have a baby, hyperpigmentation, uneven skin tone, bigger pores, wrinkles, fine lines and wrinkles. Mm-hmm. But I think the biggest thing for me is the dryness, and the thinning of the skin. And, I used to could wear a ton more makeup than I do now. Yeah. It's like, it almost wears me. And so, the more I exfoliate, the balance of that, we're always trying to, talk about exfoliation not being a dirty word, to starting in your 30s and your 40s to, again, prevention. And I do think that is really taking off in a lot of different brands and a lot of different categories, right? But I do love, I do love the transparency that Sephora and the gatekeeping. Like, I love that they don't do that. I love that you have that, I love that clean symbol. And I know what it takes to get there. I know what we've had to do. Like, it's good. It holds us accountable. So what's
Definitely.
next? What's next for the team? What are any initiatives?
There's so many amazing indie brands that are just kind of getting started that I think will become the next big things, right? The next generation of Drunk Elephants and Touches and these brands.
Are you surprised that a lot of some of these big brands that, had such a monopoly on the beauty industry, were you shocked to see that change?
Well, not really, because for Sephora, at least, our client is so excited by newness and feeling like they're getting to discover something that everyone hasn't heard of yet. And that happens at the indie brand level, right? These brands that are owned by the Estee Lauders of the world, the L'Oreals of the world, the Shiseidos of the world, they all started somewhere, right? They started as
small brand.
Two guys getting pulled off of Instagram into our office to come meet with us or, whoever it is. So they all start somewhere. And that's been an amazing thing for me and everyone in merchandising at Sephora and all of our cross-functional partners to be a part of so many of those journeys.
Okay. Because it's rapid fire. Favorite skincare product of all time. It can be old, it can be new, it can be anything.
You're going to do this to me? I can only pick one.
You can only pick one.
Josie Maran's body butter.
It's so good.
It's the best.
It
really is.
All right, a trend you wish would come back.
Print magazines. I know they're not gone, but
I agree. Trend you wish would retire.
Dupe culture.
Oh, I hate dupe
Morning
culture.
or night routine, what's more sacred?
I'm going to say morning because sunscreen.
Most underrated product at Sephora.
Well, I was going to say ultraviolet, but
I've said them for that. It's so good. You guys have to. It's like a serum, like sunscreen. You don't feel like you're wearing it. It's weightless. It's so good.
The one thing every brand founder should know.
Hire for culture.
Online shopping or in person?
Both. Also neither.
If you could only use one makeup product, what would it be?
I'm like a broken record. Sunscreen.
What's your most treasured possession besides your kids?
A rug that my grandparents took out from Iraq when they had to flee the country in the 1950s.
That's amazing.
Wow.
Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
We always ask every guest before they go, if you could give advice to your 10-year-old self, little 10-year-old Cindy, what would it be?
Listen to your body and don't let your brain talk you out of what your body knows.
That is really good advice.
Yeah, I could use that now.
I could use that now. I'm gonna tell Scarlett and Maeve that. You're the best. We love you.
You guys are the best.
Such a powerhouse. We've learned so much. I'm gonna give myself a little plug, and I love saying this. Wise Beauty is now in Sephora.
Yay!
No, but it's for me, 4 years plus, almost 5 years. It's a big moment. It's good.
It's huge. We're very excited to have you.
Thank you.
One thing that struck my whole team the most in our initial meeting with you, and also really every subsequent interaction, and you call your consumers, your customer, your girls.
My girls, yeah.
First of all, your meeting was well attended because you're Molly Sims.
Thank you.
Not every new brand meeting has that many people in the room. But you are obsessed with your clients.
I do love my girl. Emese and I, we love our women.
You do.
We want them to look good.
Girls.
You are girls.
them
And
to
the
feel
way when we sat a couple weeks ago and we were working on product, and the passion that you have for like, if this product and this product and this product and had a baby, my girl would love that. She's looking for that. And I think that really comes through in the brand. And that's how I knew in my gut that this was a perfect fit, because you are as obsessed with your client as we are with ours.
I think that has been our success with Wise, because it's skincare for women too busy for skincare. And for Emese and I, like, her Substack is does so well. And the podcast, I think, is just like, tell me what to do, how to do it, and when to do it.
Exactly.
All right, you guys, we'll see you next week.
Thanks for listening to Lipstick on the Rim with Molly Sims and my ride or die, Emese Gormley. We are so excited to bring you guys along on this journey with us. You can find us on Instagram and TikTok at Lipstick on the Rim and at Molly B. Sims. Or you can go to my blog where you can dive just a little bit deeper into my favorite products, trends, and more at mollysims.substack.com. And don't forget to check out our video episodes on my YouTube channel, Molly Sims. This podcast is a production with Sony Music. I wanted to give a special thanks to my team, Rosie Cummings, Kenna Ryan, Safine Kevorkian, and everyone at Sony Music. Don't forget to listen and follow wherever you get your podcasts so you never miss out on the fun.